Good morning, New Brunswick, and happy Election Day. Welcome to the New Brunswick Today Show for today, Tuesday, November 8th. I'm Charlie Cradaville. We've got a great show for you today. My special guest is going to be New Brunswick Today reporter Stephen Roca, so stick with us. We've got a lot to talk about, but first, today's weather. It is 47 degrees this morning, partly cloudy here in downtown New Brunswick. The high today is 68, and the low is going to be 52. That's according to weather.com. Now, City Hall is closed today for the election, as well as the city's public school system. We have no traffic advisories for you this morning, but tonight, starting at 8 p.m., the northbound side of Route 27 will be closed between Quentin Avenue all the way to the intersection of Somerset and French Streets. That closure is going to be in effect until 5 a.m. Wednesday, that's tomorrow, and by then, we might know who the next President of the United States will be. Now, to all of you watching this broadcast live on our Facebook page, please do us a favor. Share this video with your friends right now. We've got a lot of great coverage of the election, plus some New Brunswick High School sports for you. You can also comment on this video with your questions, feedback, as well as reach out to us through our Twitter account, which is @NB_today. And later today, this video is going to be available on our New Brunswick Today YouTube channel, as well as the newbrunswicktoday.com website. Now, as we go to the polls today, an old saying comes to mind: a man is known by the company he keeps. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump and New Jersey's deeply unpopular governor Chris Christie have been friends for over a decade. Such great friends that Christie's administration actually helped Trump when it came to back taxes he owed. Trump's failed casinos in Atlantic City owed the state nearly $30 million, but Christie's administration settled for just $5 million. Now, far from strange bedfellows, the two men have remarkably a lot in common, and both have a lot riding on the results of today's election. Both have endured an astonishing number of damaging scandals and embarrassing failures in their careers, both of which have cost taxpayers and American citizens millions upon millions of dollars. Now, Trump has named Christie to the key position of leading his transition team. Now, that's the same role that one of Christie's soon-to-be convicted criminal friends occupied when he became New Jersey's governor in 2009. Now, both Christie and Trump are authoritarian Republicans, known more for their style than their substance. Yet both also seem to find ways to turn their tough guy attitude into a political advantage at times, and using it as a way to set themselves apart from their competition. Now, both men also seem to have left a wake of destruction in their past endeavors, from New Jersey's 9 credit rating downgrades under Governor Christie to Trump and his Atlantic City casino empire's multiple bankruptcies. Most of all, the two are very skilled at shifting blame to other people besides themselves, and they're also known for changing their positions, often for questionable or unclear reasons. They're also known for lying, self-dealing, and having connections to shady figures, including criminals that they actively protect. Perhaps a testament to their willingness to change their own views and abandon previously held principles and positions in their own political self-interest. Both men had harsh words for each other less than a year ago when they were opponents in the presidential race. Before he endorsed Trump, Christie referred to the Republican nominee as a 13-year-old, painfully naive, and summed up his opponent, Donald Trump, as, quote, an entertainer who doesn't have the temperament or experience to be president. For his part, Trump insisted that Christie totally knew about the criminal conspiracy to purposely cause traffic jams in Fort Lee, New Jersey. And he even poked fun at him for spending so much time outside of New Jersey while campaigning for president. Perhaps most concerning of all, the two men seem to have a track record of abusing whatever power they have and obsessing over schemes to exact revenge and retribution upon their enemies here in the New York metro area and beyond. Now, in light of all these similarities between Trump and Christie, voters in the Garden State would be wise to consider the consequences of Christie's 7 years in office before casting their ballots for a Trump presidency. Conveniently, the state's voters need to look no further than how some of these joint ventures between these good friends have turned out. Not only has the state's credit rating been severely downgraded during Christie's time in office, but Christie has become known for vetoing lots of legislation and kneecapping government agencies he does not like, as well as retaliating against his enemies and spending a significant amount of time and money playing politics with just about everything. Now, Christie's administration in recent weeks has been revealed to be petty and vindictive. That's in a recent federal trial that just concluded. Now, don't confuse that with the other criminal case pending against Christie appointees, where Christie's mentor, David the General Sampson, pleaded guilty to just one of the many crimes he committed during his time simultaneously running a law firm and serving as the chairman of the board at the powerful Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Now, during the fallout of a conspiracy hatched by a Port Authority official named David Wildstein, it became apparent that the authority was up to no good in more ways than one, and the ensuing scrutiny severely damaged the bi-state agency's reputation, as well as Christie's, and forced Sampson out of the post. He has since pled guilty to federal crimes for abusing his office by convincing United Airlines, who is also paying a multi-million-dollar fine, to reinstitute a canceled flight route to accommodate his own personal travel to a weekend home in South Carolina. Now, the revelations about Sampson's unlawful behavior raised serious questions about what abuses may have gone on or gone without prosecution during his tenure as New Jersey's top law enforcement official. Yet Christie stands to get a powerful job in a potential Trump administration. This is something we should think carefully about. Failing that, his political career may be finished. If Trump does not win today, he might be finished, given the fact that the latest Rutgers-Eagleton poll shows Christie's approval rating lower than ever among his own constituents, just 19%. Now, like U.S. President Barack Obama, Christie is term limited and can't run for re-election even if he wanted to. So Christie's term is set to expire in 2018, assuming he does not resign or get impeached sooner than that. Now, besides the specter of Christie getting a promotion and the subsequent elevation of Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno to the state's highest office, Christie's first 7 years as governor also served as a cautionary tale for what a Trump administration might look like or lead towards, given the similarities between the two men. Now, telling it like it is was Christie's campaign slogan in his failed campaign to leave behind the people of New Jersey and seek the nation's highest office of president. The two candidates only teamed up after briefly butting heads in that Republican presidential primary, where it seemed both men had the same shtick. Now, despite his track record as governor and his apparent efforts to distance himself while his cronies were on trial, Christie's name has remained in the mix as a potential for the next U.S. Attorney General. Again, if Trump wins. Now, if Trump appoints him to that key position and Christie is approved by the U.S. Senate, Christie would become the top law enforcement official in the country. A scary prospect. And that's even despite the pending criminal charge against Christie himself. Though Christie is only in the earliest stage of the criminal justice process regarding an official misconduct charge pending against him, the governor and his criminal network of cronies stand a far better chance of avoiding jail time if Trump is elected. Now, just 4 days before the election, 2 of Christie's appointees, including one who was previously a state senator, were convicted by a jury of serious federal crimes in the Bridgegate scandal. Still, 2 others, including Sampson, his mentor, Christie's mentor, are also likely to spend some of the next few years behind bars after pleading guilty to federal crimes. That makes at least 4 of Christie's allies. Sampson, one of them, of course, who he referred to with the honorific title of general, 4 of his allies now guilty of federal crimes. Sampson, of course, served as the Attorney General under James McGreevey and led the Port Authority under Chris Christie. Now, still dozens more officials appointed by Christie have been fired, promoted, or reshuffled into organizations. All the while Christie expended more than $11 million in taxpayer funds to produce a highly dubious report that was clearly meant to do little more than exonerate him. Now, the details that came out in the 7-week trial against Christie's former allies are also damning. But perhaps the most troubling trait that Trump and Christie have in common is a strong resistance to admitting when they're wrong. Christie famously has doubled down over and over again about his own lack of knowledge about the political retribution his aides were engaging in that scandal. But several witnesses, including some of the governor's closest allies, contradicted Christie's story in their sworn testimony. Making matters worse, multiple jurors in the case have said they feel Christie himself should have been charged criminally by the feds, with one of those jurors calling him, quote, a master puppeteer. Now, because Christie's own cavalcade of acting attorney generals at the state level has failed to bring anyone to justice in that matter, a retired firefighter from Bergen County took it upon himself to bring a charge of official misconduct against the governor. Fort Lee Judge Roy McGeady agreed to sign that man's complaint, a highly unusual occurrence, and that actually caused the audience in his courtroom to burst out into applause. And it will force Christie into a criminal courtroom as a defendant. Governor Christie is due in court on November 23rd, the day before Thanksgiving, at 1:30 p.m., and he's agreed to attend that through an attorney, according to published reports. You can bet that New Brunswick Today will be there. Now, I want to show you a video. This is, if you haven't seen it yet, this is a video of me asking Governor Christie if he thinks Donald Trump is an honorable man. You'll see that he responds by calling me a name and actually ends up telling the room full of my colleagues that they should beat me up for taking their one chance to ask a question about the man Christie wants to be president, Donald Trump. Here's that video.
Where are you from?
I'm Charlie Pratt.
Okay. New face in the crowd.
You mentioned working with honorable people in Atlantic City, and I want to ask how much blame do you think Donald Trump is for the situation that Atlantic City's in? Is he an honorable person?
He is an honorable person, and I don't believe he's ever been a office holder in Atlantic City. I don't remember Donald being mayor on the council, so he had no ability to make decisions, as far as I could tell, over how they spent their money, how much debt they went into, and whether there were pensions for lifeguards or not. So I don't think he's got a lot to do with it, but you know, it would not be a press conference on something serious without some joker asking me about Donald Trump. Yeah.
One more, please.
Yeah, we're not. Listen, it's you get one Trump question a press conference when I'm actually out here on substance, and the new guy back there, go beat him up. He's the one who took over with that. Absolutely ridiculous. Dustin, can't hear you. Don't know. Can't hear you. Sorry. Loss of hearing.
And welcome back to the New Brunswick Today show. I'm now joined by Chris Roberts, our cast member and intrepid reporter. Thank you for joining us today.
No problem.
So for folks who go to the New Brunswick Today website, you can find a lot of information about the election. There's a lot more that people are asked to vote for today besides just that president office at the top of your ballot. We actually have here, this is the ballot for New Brunswick. So you can see lots of individual offices, and we'll be talking about this with our guest Stephen Roca in just a little bit. But when you're on that website, you can check out an article just published this morning about the race for mayor in Piscataway, our neighbor across the Raritan River. Chris, you're a new resident of Piscataway. We assigned you this story. Tell us what's your take on the election there, and what did you find out in your research?
In my investigation, first let me just say the race is between the incumbent Democrat Brian Waller.
He's been mayor a long time.
Almost 16 years. He was elected in November of 2000 and became the mayor in January of 2001. And he's being challenged by Republican challenger Damon Montesano. Both of them did not get back to New Brunswick today on any questions, but I didn't need to get any answers to find out a lot of stuff that was really incriminating against Waller.
Right, he's been in office a long time. He's what we call a double dipper, right? He's paid to be the mayor of Piscataway, but he also has a job working for the county. And
he has another job too.
where else?
Well, the Piscataway Planning Board and the mayor, and then the
he has
county
a
job.
seat on the planning
Triple
board as
dipping.
well. Yeah, so he's got. He's been in power a while. He certainly has the town under his control.
Absolutely.
Tell me, what do you think about this challenger? Obviously, the guy didn't get back to you, but you tried your best to sum up his policy positions. What do you think? You think he has what it takes to win today?
Personally, no. I don't think he has the name recognition to win. I think the Democrats have it on hold. They've had mayors in the past 3 decades running Piscataway. So unless if I missed something crucial, I don't think Montesano is going to win.
Right, unless there's been some big change that we didn't notice in the past few years. It's a Democrat town, probably will stay Democrat, regardless of Mayor Waller's performance. Well, tell us, what are some of these things you found out about Mayor Waller, some of the things Piscataway Democrats have been accused of in the past?
Right, so something I found out about Waller was interesting. Charlie was saying that he was a double dipper, but actually in the past 26 years, he has had 11 different jobs. Mostly government jobs, but there are a few that were not government jobs. He was actually a management assistant at the New Brunswick Bindery here in New Brunswick. And I also found out there were a lot of accusations charged against him and his administration in the past 2 decades, really. In 2000, the then mayor Helen Marola, who was a 71-year-old lady, was the mayor of Piscataway. She was a Democrat, but she refused to go under the Democratic Party's screening process for the nomination because basically what she said was that the party had already chosen Waller to be their next mayor, to be the nominee for the Democratic Party.
So the Democrats weren't being democratic.
No,
Right.
absolutely not. No.
I'm shocked. So tell us, what's the prevailing theory on why Mayor Waller rose to power and got that job?
Right, so the prevailing theory is it consists of 2 parts. One of the things is that his wife, his father-in-law, his wife's father, was the director of the board, the freeholders.
Yeah,
and
longtime freeholder director Dave Crabiel. That's his son-in-law. He married Crabiel's daughter.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and he was basically pushing for Waller to be the nominee in the Piscataway Democratic Organization, and so was the daughter of state assemblyman who was heading Waller's campaign. So they might have had a collusion of a lot of different Democratic Party interests trying to get Waller to be the nominee. That's the theory.
Okay, and very interesting article you had today. You even got into some of the scandals that were actually probably prosecuted by our governor in a former life.
They were, yeah.
He prosecuted some Democrat fundraisers, and there was even this famous, tell people about the famous Machiavelli incident.
Yeah, so there was a deal, actually, there was a farm in Piscataway, used to be owned by the Halper family, and for years the Piscataway Township wanted this farm. They wanted, I don't know why exactly, but they really wanted it, and they were only willing to pay the Halper family around $4 million for it. They wanted a lot more than that. They thought it was worth a lot more than that. So one of the family members who owned the farm, his brother-in-law, decided to go undercover for I can't remember, maybe it was the United States Attorney General.
Sure, they're working with the FBI probably.
Yeah, and he decided to see if maybe he could get a better deal by going through some not very
right, they said,
legal avenues.
We'll give you more money for your farm if you just throw us a little bit of money for our campaign.
Right.
Stuff like that.
So this guy got a secretly recorded tape of David Amiano, who was who was a Democratic Party operative in the region, and basically they cut a deal where this Hulper guy would pay the local Democrats $40,000 in order for the family to get a better price on their farm that was being taken via eminent domain. And the deal was set to the word Machiavelli, which, if you know anything about Machiavelli, this is the kind of thing that he talked about.
It was a very fitting code word.
Yes.
And they actually got Governor McGreevey to say the code word, right? That was the gist of it. They wanted to try to implicate the governor and point out that he knew. So
right.
He said it. He said it out loud on FBI recording, right? Governor McGreevey?
Mm-hmm.
Not once, but twice. So, classic story from Piscataway Democrat politics. And thank you so much for putting together that story to educate people as they go to the polls today.
No
it's
problem.
important to remember, folks like yourself who live on Livingston campus, Bush campus, you can vote in Piscataway. There's more information on our website. You got to be registered, but you can vote in Piscataway if you live on those campuses. If you live at the Rutgers campuses here in New Brunswick, you can vote here in New Brunswick. So thank you, Chris, for doing this research and sharing it with our readers.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Chris. So that's the one mayor's race we're looking at. Piscataway. We've got 3 other towns with mayor races. We'll be back in a moment to talk about Perth Amboy, as well as East Brunswick, and the other one in Spotswood. So our guest is Stephen Roca today. He's going to be here in just a moment to talk about all these things, plus the ballot questions that you've got to decide on today, as well as update on the New Brunswick High School football team. So Stephen will be out in just a moment. While we bring him into the studio, take a look at his latest interview here. This is from the New Brunswick Zebras' latest football game where they defeated Howell Township. Take a look.
Okay, I'm here with Jabri and Dylan. Dylan, 3 first half touchdowns, all big gains. Just talk about it. You had the run game going for you tonight.
I mean, the line, they did what they had to do, so I just had to execute. I mean, we haven't been executing that well lately, and I know this game mattered just like any other game. But this was like a playoff game for us, so we had to push through and fight and just come off with the win.
Did you have anything special going into this game? Just trying to establish the run game, trying to maybe get some frustrations out, I guess, or anything?
I did for my grandmother, definitely.
Yeah.
She had passed away from cancer last year around this time, so I just had
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sure you made her proud tonight, absolutely. And Jabri, so let's just talk about you guys go up 19-0, okay, and then early third quarter, they catch you guys off guard, but I think a lot of people in the stands said tonight that this is a good win for you guys because they caught you. It's 20-19, but then you lead the team back, and it looked like you guys were composed. You had no doubt you would come and get that win.
Yeah, at first we came out flat in the second half, whatever, but we had to pick it up, and fight through adversity, and get back on track because they had the intensity coming out in half, whatever. We came out flat, but we got to do a better job next week.
Okay. Any last comments, guys? Just something that stood out in the game?
I just want to thank the line for everything.
Okay, I'm here with Jabri and Dylan. Dylan, 3 first half touchdowns, all big gains. Just talk about it. You had the run game going for you tonight.
I mean, the line, they did what they had to do, so I just had to execute. I mean, we haven't been executing that well lately, and I know this game mattered just like any other game. But this was like a playoff game for us, so we had to push through and fight and just come off with the win.
Did you have anything special going into this game? Just trying to establish the run game, trying to maybe get some frustrations out, I guess, or anything?
I did for my grandmother, definitely.
Yeah.
She had passed away from cancer last year around this time, so I just had
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sure you made her proud tonight, absolutely. And Jabri, so let's just talk about you guys go up 19-0, okay, and then early third quarter, they catch you guys off guard, but I think a lot of people in the stands said tonight that this is a good win for you guys because they caught you. It's 20-19, but then you lead the team back, and it looked like you guys were composed. You had no doubt you would come and get that win.
Yeah, at first we came out flat in the second half, whatever, but we had to pick it up, and fight through adversity, and get back on track because they had the intensity coming out in half, whatever. We came out flat, but we got to do a better job next week.
Okay. Any last comments, guys? Just something that stood out in the game? Or?
I just want to thank the line for
Yeah, I just want to
everything.
give a shout out to the line.
The line really held it down for us tonight, and they were the reason we came off with the win.
Okay. All right, good luck, guys.
Thank you.
And welcome back to the New Brunswick Today Show. We're now joined by Stephen Roca. Thanks so much for joining us today. And I got to say thank you for your excellent work covering the high school sports in New Brunswick. You do a better job than anybody else, and we're really proud to have you on the team. Tell us, how'd you get involved with New Brunswick Today? How'd you get involved covering high school sports?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Charlie. So I guess I started with New Brunswick Today. Just reached out to the newspaper once I found out about them. Just doing some of my own reporting, I guess, because I just graduated from Rutgers University in May of 2015, and then I was enjoying my summer, and then I said, okay, let me see if I could find any work in broadcasting or in journalism. So, because my background is in communications, and I said, okay, let me just try to get some more experience under my belt before I was at WRSU, which is right on College Ave in Rutgers, and then I was also at 90.3 The Core, which is on Livingston campus, so I had those two radio experiences. And I never really, I wrote some blogs at WRSU, but then I wanted to see how much I could cover high school sports, because I always felt that there was a lack of coverage in high school sports, and it's a really big interest in the communities.
It really is. Some of your stories have been some of the most popular ones we've had, and you were actually already doing this before you reached out to me. You were actually, going there and covering games, broadcasting them live even.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
tell us, where do you get this passion for high school sports? You were an athlete yourself?
Yeah. I actually was a three sport athlete. I played football in the fall, basketball in the winter, and then track and field in the spring. And I was also a soccer referee, so I knew about soccer and the rules. So I was trying, last season, I didn't do it this year, but last year I was going to most of the boys' soccer games and trying to broadcast them live and develop that skill, something I did as a sportscaster at WRSU. And that was fun. And then they had that terrific year. They went 20-2.
Yeah, last year the soccer team and the football team both had really good years. Tell us,
it was unbelievable.
how are the New Brunswick Zebras this year? Where are we at?
So this year, it was a big turn of events for the New Brunswick program, because I think the Greater Middlesex Conference wants New Brunswick to be in the red division because they're a Group 5 school. So it's a big school.
So what does that mean? That's the most competitive division?
So
or one of
it
them?
winds up being the most competitive because there's that many more students in the school. And New Brunswick has not been up to par to compete in that at that level.
So last year the competition was not as strong. This year they're in a tougher division.
Yeah. So what happened was that the boys soccer team was playing in the white division, and they wound up going 14-0 in the white division. So they killed it, and then we're beating teams in the red division that were ranked. So then they think the Zebras finished as the 13th best team in New Jersey. And they went to the semifinals before they lost to Monroe on a heartbreaker.
Yep.
And then the football team, they had Maurice French and Samad Davila just tearing up the field. They're both playing in college now. I think Maurice is at the University of Pittsburgh right now, and he's getting some playing time.
Wow.
And they had, the year before is when Coach Sofil Konic came back, and he was always in the school. He was able to get the team to go 3-7 and then turn into 9-2, reach the semifinals, and then this year they just got back into the playoffs as well. They had a big win against Howell, which gave them a lot of points. And
so it came down to the final game of the season, right?
It came down to, because the cutoff date was when they played Howell, I believe, and then they got a nice win against them, 31-20. And that game they went up 19-0. Howell fought back in the third quarter to come get the lead 20-19, and then they said, okay, let's not messing around. Let's finish this. But now, so the girls soccer team, they won the gold division last year.
Right.
But gold division is the bottom of the divisions. but then this year they got bumped up. So they went past the blue, which is the next step, and then into the white.
Okay.
So it's been tough for them. They had 5 wins this year. And then girls volleyball, they went defeated. They went from the blue division past the white division and then into the red. So, and they only had 1 win last year in the blue division. So I don't know what was the reasoning behind that. And then girls tennis, they had a winning season last year in the blue division, and then they went up to the red, and they got, I think, 4 wins. Again, 4 wins, 2 came from Perth Amboy, and they almost beat Piscataway. That was just a notable win. Almost win for them. They lost to them first time, 0-5, and then they turned it around, and then they lost 2-3. Let me just see who the players were. Let me just give them some recognition.
Sure.
Stephanie Lopez Cruz, she won in the second singles in that match, and then Gabriela Maraquin and Brittany Lopez teamed up for the first doubles to get that win also.
And that's great that you always give recognition to the student athletes. You do a really good job covering the sports. So now this season's over for all the teams except football, right?
Except
football
for the
is still
football
alive. They're about to go to the first round of the playoffs. Tell us what do you expect this weekend?
Yeah, so they're gonna go up against Manalapan. Manalapan, right? I think they're out of the Shore A conference. I'm not too sure, but Manalapan is yeah, no pun intended, right? So Manalapan's 9-0 right now.
Oh wow!
And this team scores a lot.
And we're on the road. We're going to
We're on the road. We're going to Manalapan and Englishtown. So it's interesting because I think that the Zebras, if they play a solid game, they're gonna beat this team. And I'll tell you why. It's because Manalapan beat Howell 41-34. Okay, so a 7-point difference. But then we beat Howell 31-20. And this is at the end of the season already. So the Zebras have just been improving all season long. They started off 0-3.
They really turned it around.
They lost to Piscataway, Sayreville, and South Brunswick. And these are all teams that have just been in the red division. They already have established coaches. I think the Piscataway coach, I think Coach Higgins, has been there for 14 seasons. So for them to, they've still been scoring every game and creating turnovers. And I think all 5 losses have been to playoff teams. So New Brunswick has some playmakers on their team. They have
Definitely this year.
Quarterback Jabri Seawright Jeffrey. I hope I got that right. His mom was telling me about his name, how to pronounce it and say it. So Jabri Jeffrey is really one of the top quarterbacks in the GMC.
He's a threat as a running and in the air, right?
He's amazing. He he gets the ball. He's in the pocket, and he's so hard to take down because he's so fast and nifty and he's quick. So after his offensive line gives him good blocking, then once the defense is coming after him, he just misses those tackles, and then on the run, he'll throw deadly accurate passes. And he has his favorite targets are Cadis Reams, who's been phenomenal. I think he averages 2 touchdowns a game. Herman Pimentel, sometimes he plays tight end for them, and their tight end Curtis Revan, who really does a good job blocking. I mean, they all do. And who else? They have Zahar James, who came from St. Joe's, and Kaya Lewis, who I've seen him get a few one-handed grabs. And then occasionally the running back Dylan Johnson, who's a sophomore, and he runs like a beast. And even though he's 5'8", maybe 100, I don't know, maybe 50 pounds, he's really hard to take down. He just bounces off defenders, and it's good because he's small, so the line can't see him, so he hides under the line, and then he just finds little holes, and then once he's in the open field, no one can catch him. He's just too fast. So this team has a lot going for them right now, and Manalapan's going to have to choose what's the real threat against them to defend.
And so what time's the game this Friday?
So I think it's going to be this Friday at 7 p.m.
7 p.m. at Manalapan High School.
Yeah.
Zebras in the first round of the state playoffs?
The state playoffs. Central Group 5 state playoffs.
So another strong season with strong coverage from Stephen Roca, and Steve goes above and beyond getting videos of the games and interviewing the players. We've got another clip. Could you just set it up, tell people what this clip is about to be?
Yeah, so this next clip is, this was the last play for the boys soccer team when they fell to Old Bridge, 3-2. It was a big controversial, so you can just check that out and see for yourself.
Okay, controversial call from New Brunswick versus Old Bridge boys soccer. We'll be right back to talk about the election with Stephen Roca.
Okay, so
good job.
So that clip that you saw, it was a really sour way for the boys soccer team to end the season. That was their third loss in 4 games, which is really unusual to see from them. So on that play, what happens is that they're already in the second overtime. And this is the last play. Time has really, if it might have expired, but the rest might
close to the very end of double OT.
So if there's no goal, this is going to be penalty kicks, and that's where the Zebras are strong.
Huh.
So what happens is that I think Greg Johnson from Old Bridge looks like he trips Jordy Gomez in front of him, and Jordy Gomez did a phenomenal job all night as the center back for the soccer team. Able to not not foul players on the fast break, but in this play, it looks like he gets tripped. There's no call, and the referee was behind the play, so he couldn't see if there was a trip or not. So then Johnson just takes the ball, and then goalkeeper Inestrosa is looking for a call while trying to still defend, but then he just chips it forward, and then Coach Castillo tries to plead his case, but to no avail. So then that's how the season ended for them.
3-2 Old Bridge, and have to wait till next year now.
Yeah, they have to wait till next year. But this has been a really solid program so far. They've really established themselves. So that was them from the white division going into the red division, and they almost won it against Monroe.
Right, they almost won. So both football and boys soccer getting that promotion to a tougher division, and holding their own, surviving.
Yeah, really holding their own. The freshman team, give them credit, they've now won the GMC tournament 2 years in a row.
Wow.
And then the JV team won the GMC tournament last season. This year they fell to Old Bridge to a 3-0 loss. But still, great team going on right now in New Brunswick. And you can really feel the pride coming back to the community, because there was a gap in all the sports, and they were struggling.
And it is a source of pride here in New Brunswick, definitely. Well, thanks for your excellent coverage of that. We got a vote today. So you've got your sample ballot here. This is, if you want to take a look at the New Brunswick sample ballot, this is what people are going to be seeing when they get to the polls. So in addition to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 candidates for president, people in New Brunswick are going to be asked to vote for a member of the House of Representatives. And you might remember on this show we interviewed 2 of the 4 candidates that are going to be running for that seat. Frank Pallone Jr. is the incumbent congressman. He's been in office since 1989. And he is running for another term against Brent Sonic Schmelz, a Republican. We did reach out to Judith Shammy. She is out of state right now. And Dr. Rajit Malia is unable to join us this morning. We did invite him. He's a practicing physician, and he is at work. But so those are the 4 choices we've got there. But let's go to the bottom of the ballot. This is where you might get confused. So, Stephen, tell us what are these ballot questions, and do you know how you're going to be voting today?
Yeah, so let's see. Question number 1: constitutional amendment to permit casino gambling in 2 counties other than Atlantic City. All right, that's a big one there.
It is. I don't know. Do you want a casino in your neighborhood, in your town?
No.
No?
No, not at all. Yeah, if I actually thought about my town having a casino, I'd be upset because I think that would just corrupt my town, and I feel like, hey, we're doing just fine. Maybe we're not the best in New Jersey. We're pretty good, but no, definitely bringing a casino would kind of just flee everyone out, and they wouldn't want to stay there.
I feel the same way. I feel like Atlantic City is an example of like what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like it's a shame the way it worked out there, and you know, if you don't want it in your town, I would say vote no. Like here in Middlesex County, we are eligible under the way this is written. The way it's written is very vague.
It's very vague. Yes.
It doesn't make it clear who actually gets to run and own the casinos. That's still to be decided. It could be, you know, some people who might not be the best business people, let's say, but also the locations are totally left. All it says is it's got to be 72 miles or more from Atlantic City. Well, guess what? New Brunswick is just past that.
Really?
So New Brunswick, you know, Perth Amboy, Woodbridge, Edison, even some towns in Monmouth County are eligible for these North Jersey casinos. So if you don't want one in your town and you live in Middlesex County, you probably should vote no. But I guess maybe some people want casinos. I don't know. Just people do complain about they're far away and they have to drive to Pennsylvania to go to the casino. But I personally, I feel like I have more money.
If you want to lose money that badly, then you'll make the trip.
Right,
So,
right.
And we're gonna. I'm pretty sure that this is gonna be a big no from New Jersey.
I think, you know, the folks who want to build these casinos were spending millions trying to convince people to vote yes, and it seems like they gave up. They stopped the campaign more than a month ago because it just wasn't looking like it was going to be a success. So that's a ballot question that we may see again in the future, but this year probably not going to pass.
Yeah, probably
Now,
not.
question 2 has been a source of a lot of discussion and debate. This is a question being asked for, again, a constitutional amendment. The state questions are always to actually change the Constitution. And I don't know, what do you think of this one, Stephen? It's a little confusing, right?
So a constitutional amendment to dedicate additional revenues to state transportation system. Okay, so this is going to take part of the gas taxes, right, or the diesel taxes, and they're going to say that this can only be put towards the transportation system. This is a tricky one because I feel like I've read this over and over again, trying to find research on it, and I really am on the fence about it. But I think you have an answer for us.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not the most significant thing in the world, but there is basically the main sentence here in the interpretive statement says the amendment would include an additional 3 cents on the tax on diesel fuel that is not currently dedicated. So what that means is that for every gallon of diesel gas that people buy, I don't know, you don't drive a diesel car, neither do I, but people, you know, big trucks especially, run on diesel fuel, and every time you buy a gallon of gas, you're paying a gas tax, and apparently 3 cents of that tax just kind of goes into the general fund, I guess you could say, and the state can do whatever it wants with it. This question would make it so that those taxes go to transportation projects, that they're, as I say, dedicated to be transportation projects. So I'm personally, I think I'm going to vote yes on it. It makes sense that the gas tax would go to fix the roads and bridges and stuff like that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it one way or the other.
Yeah.
But now, we've got 4 towns that have their own ballot questions. So if you could pull up the Carteret ballot, you'll see a pretty interesting question there that we've covered on this show. Now, Carteret is a town where Mayor Dan Ryman has been in office for 3 terms, 12 years, and he is tired of having school board elections. He doesn't want the people in his community to choose who's on the school board. He wants to do it himself. So he got some of these folks that are on the board to put a question on the ballot. This was decided on August 31st at the Carteret Board of Education meeting. And if more people vote yes than no to this question, there will never be a school board election again. They'll actually switch to a different type of school district where the mayor gets to pick all the members of the school board. So I don't know about you, Stephen. If I lived in Carteret, I'm a hard no.
Yeah, like, okay, I don't really understand why you want to try and change this, but I guess it's for personal gain and trying to get their own politics.
It's like a power play.
Going in, yeah, it's going to be their own power play, right? So if this is me, yeah, this is a hard no, and if you're a member of that community and you want to be on the school board, you're not going to have a chance if people wind up voting yes for this.
And here's the thing that gets me. Even I don't know Mayor Ryman. I don't know if he's a good mayor or bad mayor, but he's not going to be the mayor forever.
Right.
So even if he's a really good mayor and you trust him to pick the school board, you could have a bad mayor one day who could really devastate the school board, and there would be nothing you could do about it. Right? There's no role for the voters. In New Brunswick, we actually used to be a part of that system where we had the mayor pick the entire school board, and we had, not great schools. But in 2012, the voters came out 4 years ago, right after Hurricane Sandy, and more people voted yes than no, and we switched. We thought it was progress moving to having elections, but in Carteret, they want to turn back the clock and switch to an older system that I don't know. We'll see. That'll be one we watch closely. We are going to be broadcasting tonight, so tune in tonight to this Facebook page around 9 p.m. We're going to be going live. We're going to have results from all over the county. Stephen, you're going to be visiting clerks in Perth Amboy to find out what's going on there, as well as your hometown of Woodbridge. Right. Tell us, what are the local races in those communities?
All right, so let's see. Oh no, this one's, let me see, I think this one's it. The one in Woodbridge. There really isn't too much of a fight going on here. Let me just see real quick. Alright, so obviously we have the presidents, the House of Representatives, and the sheriff. I think it comes down to really the members for the township council.
Right, this is the seat that just opened up.
Right, so there's 3 people running for this position, but I think right over the summer, Viru Patel was filling in for a member who stepped down.
Exactly. For the first South Asian to ever serve on the Woodbridge Council, we had a very popular article about it, and now he's running to keep that job.
Right, so he wants to get it officially elected, right? But we
and who's he running against?
So he's going to be running against Nutan Kalamadani. And I think I got a note on my door from her. And Amaresena Anura Rupasinghe. So, sorry if I butchered the name, but it's a very long name. I really don't know what's going to happen. I think that just from me driving around my town, I saw a lot of little boards there for Viru Patel. And he also had that article from us, so he's got himself a little bit of publicity.
Sure.
So I think that this should be a vote for him. I think he's going to be able to get in. The other 2, I really don't know. I haven't heard from them in the community, and so I think this is going to be Viru Patel.
Okay, so he's got the backing of Mayor McCormick and the Woodbridge machine. He's got 2 opponents. One is a Republican, the other is an independent. So we'll keep an eye on that race. Plus, you've got 6 people running for school board there. So have you seen any of the signs for them around town? Do you have any indication who's got the most support?
I'm trying to see. I think there's some people who I think Joseph Velez, does that ring a bell to you?
Velez is an incumbent. Yeah, he's on the board now. Running to keep his seat.
We have Akshar AJ Asadana, Thomas E. Morris, Mubashir Ahmad, Jonathan Tribewasser, Joseph Velez, and Rupal Patel. So this one you can only pick 3. There's 6 people who are running, and again, really no one jumps out here. So we'll see how the voting goes. It could just be you going to vote, and the first 3 get elected, last 3, whatever you do. But
yeah, the interesting thing about these school board elections is there's no parties. It's not done like you see the rest of the ballot. Everybody's lined up with their sort of their teammates, and so all the way up to the highest office in the country, Republicans get kind of the benefit of Trump voters that might end up voting for them because they're on the same team, while Democrats are going to get support from Hillary. But the school board elections are in a totally separate part of the ballot. So if you look at any of these ballots here, basically everywhere except New Brunswick has a school board election in this race. And yeah, we'll keep an eye on that in Woodbridge, because that's also a chance for the South Asian community to get its first representative on that board, where the South Asian community has been growing big time.
yeah, the community is very, very big over there. I live in Island, and right next to us in Edison, it's a really big community, and I think it would be good if they had some representation. I think it's about time.
Absolutely. So just a few other things to keep an eye on. We're going to give you wall-to-wall coverage of the presidential election. We're going to keep track of who's going to be winning what states, and we're going to hopefully be able to find out tonight who the winner is. But there's also other things we're going to be watching in some of those states. For instance, 5 states have ballot questions that would legalize recreational use of marijuana. So that's Arizona, California, Massachusetts, Maine, and Nevada. There's also some questions that would raise the minimum wage in 5 states. Again, Arizona, Colorado, Maine, South Dakota, and Washington. You got gun control measures on the ballot in Cali, Maine, Nevada, and Washington. And Colorado even has a question that would institute a single-payer healthcare system. So those are going to be all things we're going to keep an eye on tonight, that the national news is going to hopefully be covering, and we'll pick that up for you and analyze it tonight. But we're also going to be focusing on these local races. So what that means is the Congress race. We went over 4 candidates to represent this area. There's also a race for a different part of Middlesex County, Congressional District 12. That's for East Brunswick and areas south of there in Middlesex County. They're going to have even more choices on the ballot, including my friend Edward Forchion, who is, I believe, running with the Legalized Marijuana Party. And he will be on the ballot there, running against the incumbent Bonnie Watson-Coleman and the Republican Stephen Uccio, and I believe there's a couple other candidates there. So we'll definitely get you the full story on those congressional races. But also, we've got a great story on our website right now about the races going on, not just for Piscataway mayor, but for the county offices. So there's 3 seats on the freeholder board. They are the powerful entity that runs the county government here in Middlesex, the 2nd biggest county by population in New Jersey. And we're also going to be choosing a sheriff who's going to be empowered to run the sheriff's office here. And you've got 2 very different candidates. We invited the Democrats to come on our show, the incumbents, the political machine. They did not get back to us. We tried to get them a chance to come on the show. They did not. But just last week we interviewed 3 of the 4 people running for those county offices with the Republican Party. You can watch that on our website and our YouTube channel. And yeah, we'll keep you posted on all those races. If you check the site in just a few minutes, we're going to have a story with the list of all those local races, from school board all the way up to council. And those, again, 4 towns that have mayor elections are Perth Amboy, where is a big one that we should probably talk
Perth
about.
Amboy,
that. You've been covering Perth Amboy. They've got a Board of Ed election and a very significant mayor race. Tell us what you know about that.
Yeah, so this mayor race, so I was able to attend, there was debates for the Board of Education and for the mayoral debates. They were held by the organization.
United Messengers of Peace.
Right, United Messengers of Peace. The president, Stephanie Rodriguez, helped set those up. So they took place at Perth Amboy High School. Basically, it looks like whoever's in the Board of Education at Perth Amboy is going to stay in there. I think the president, I wrote their names down, but the president, vice president, and another member, Anthony Bermudez, is over here. They were the only 3 who showed up out of 8 people who were invited to come, and they're all together. So those three are probably just going to go right back in.
Yeah, it was a little awkward, that debate,
was
right? There were
not much
only
of a-
one team showed up, and everybody, a lot of empty seats there.
It wasn't much of a debate. So they really just got to take the questions and then just go wherever they wanted, and they all really just went in the same direction anyway. Let me just see my notes from that night. So there was also Matthew Maddox, who's a retired Rutgers professor, or I think he's still there. He was there to moderate the debate. And he asked them, okay, so what's going to be the biggest challenge for this school board? And they all pointed to overcrowding. Overcrowding is something that has been a problem in Perth Amboy, and they all agreed on that. And they're saying the real estate developers, they take advantage, they come in, they do what they want, they set the prices however they want, they just bring in as many families they can into apartments. And this Perth Amboy really wants to have everyone with a home now. They want to turn people into home buyers, but it hasn't been so because things have been relatively cheap for them. But
and there's a lot of tension between these board members and the city hall politics, like Mayor Diaz. Tell us, did Mayor Diaz show up for her debate?
She did not, at least for the first one that I went to. So.
And how many candidates showed up?
One.
Just one. Our friend Sharon Huberman, who you might have seen on this show, she was there. You can watch the whole debate, but it's she was the only one to show, so she's and more power to her for showing up.
Sharon, it looks like she's been trying to get involved in this community for a while now, and she cares about her town. And she went to the debates for the Board of Education. I think I've seen her at other meetings. She came here. She's serious about this. And then while Wilda Diaz, the current mayor, has had 2 terms already, so she's been there for 8 years, and didn't show up. I don't know if you invited her onto the show or not, but it looks like she might lose if Sharon's got her name out there enough. So.
Well, that'll really be something. If Wilda Diaz does not win, she's got the support now. She came in as a reformer, but she's now got the support of the whole machine here in Middlesex County.
Yeah.
They're all pushing for her, but there's a lot of dissatisfaction with her, and so much so that the council, the members of the council, have all teamed up against her. And one of them is running as well. Joel Pabon is perhaps the most likely to defeat Mayor Diaz, but we've also got Sharon Huberman and Miguel Nunez on the ballot today. Plus, they each have council candidates running with them, and though it's not officially linked up on the ballot, at least the mayor has some candidates that she is supporting for that school board election.
Right.
So, a lot to keep track of. We're going to do our best to sum it up for you as the results come in real time. We are your source for local news here at New Brunswick Today. We're going to be broadcasting live tonight, a special show. I'll be on the air at 9. We're also going to have our reporter Carlos Ramirez, and Stephen Roca will be joining us once he gets those long-awaited results from the north end of the county. So please tune into that. Again, those mayor races are Piscataway, Perth Amboy, East Brunswick, and Spotswood. There's ballot questions in 4 towns, but the one we're most concerned about is that one in Carteret. And then we've got all the county and Congress races, as well as Board of Ed and everything else across the county. So we'll be coming at you 9 p.m. tonight. Tune in to the New Brunswick Today Facebook page. Thanks so much, Stephen, for joining us. We'll see you in just a bit.
All right.
Keep up the good work. Thanks for joining.